It is not all that uncommon for Star Wars films to drop in Easter eggs and callbacks to previous films and series. In this video, we'll be talking about some of the most iconic and heartbreaking callbacks to the original and prequel trilogies. And of course, because we are discussing plot points in the film, spoilers ahead. Make sure to stick around to the end as we give off a list of cameos and famous actors that you didn't know were in the film. Hey guys, Nathan here in the Lore Lounge. Today we're going to be looking at some of our favorite Easter eggs, callbacks, and cameos that happened in The Last Jedi. So sit back, stay tuned, and as always, welcome to the Lore Lounge. Jumping right into it, one of the most shown Easter eggs in The Last Jedi were the dice in the Millennium Falcon. Back in A New Hope, these dice were more of a gag, but in The Last Jedi, they are far more important to the story. The story of these dice goes much deeper than just a tacky mirror accessory. In The Force Awakens visual dictionary, we get the origin and reasoning for the dice. Now these are actually the dice that Han used to win the Millennium Falcon from Lando in a game of Corellian Spike. Now, if I were a gambling man... No, but really. Now, if I were to speculate, these are probably going to be a big plot point in the Han Solo standalone film. Number 2, green milk. In one of the strangest scenes in The Last Jedi, we see Luke milking a very weird alien on Ahch 2. Now the alien produces green, yes green, milk, as a callback to A New Hope where we see Luke drinking blue milk on Tatooine. Now this is by far one of the weirdest scenes that we've seen in the past two movies of the sequel trilogy. Now some of the smaller Easter eggs come in the form of stylish accessories. For instance, Snoke's ring that we see him wearing in the throne room scene is actually made from obsidian taken from Vader's base on Mustafar. Now according to the visual dictionary, we also see Luke wearing a Sith lightsaber crystal around his neck. And for all you video game fans, in the film we also see the compass that Luke stole from an Imperial stronghold in Star Wars Battlefront 2, just sitting on a shelf. Also, in the Shattered Empire comic series, we learn that Poe's parents were part of a team that helped to defeat the Empire on Endor and also helped to found the New Republic. In The Last Jedi, we can see Poe wearing a chain around his neck that holds his mother's wedding ring. Now, one of the more obvious Easter eggs in the film is Luke's X-Wing. In the film, we see the X-Wing, which is missing a wing, submerged in the waters of Ahch 2. Now this is an obvious callback to Luke's time and training on Dagobah in The Empire Strikes Back. But, if you pay attention, you'll notice that the missing wing is actually the door to Luke's hut on the island. You know, the one that Chewbacca ultimately destroys to get to a reluctant Luke. Now there are quite a lot of Easter eggs that refer to the prequel trilogy, but not very many get the outrage that the term laser sword received when Luke said it in the film. For some reason, fans were angered by the use of the term, not realizing that it is actually a callback to The Phantom Menace, wherein Anakin asks Qui-Gon if he's a Jedi, saying, "I saw your laser sword."
I saw your laser sword. Only Jedis carry that kind of weapon.
Now onto the heart-wrenching Easter eggs. In one of the ending scenes on Crate, we see Luke's exchange with Ben Solo. In this dialogue, Luke says to Kylo, "I have failed you, Ben." Now this is a callback to the fall of Anakin in Revenge of the Sith, where Obi-Wan says, "I have failed you, Anakin, I have failed you." Arguably one of the coolest Easter eggs in the movie is Leia's original blaster from A New Hope. We haven't seen her use it since episode 4, however we do get to see Leia stun Poe after his apparent mutiny in The Last Jedi. Now we do get a lot of callbacks thanks to the soundtrack in The Last Jedi, but nothing as goosebump inducing as when the Millennium Falcon shows up on Crate. Now in A New Hope, when Luke and Han fight off a squad of TIE fighters, the track TIE Fighter Attack plays in the background. In The Last Jedi, we see the Falcon show up with Rey and Chewie taking the TIE fighters on once again. And again, the track that plays is TIE Fighter Attack, or also known as Here They Come. The title Here They Come is itself an Easter egg referring to the line that Leia says in A New Hope right before the fight begins. Now this one is less of an Easter egg and more of a plot point that's bent a little bit on nostalgia, which is okay. This is referring to the scene where Luke sees R2 for the first time since his self-imposed exile. Now, being unable to convince Luke to assist the rebellion, R2-D2 plays Leia's transmission from A New Hope that set the entire original trilogy into motion. Now this has some effect on Luke in the film, but still not enough to get his help training Rey and helping the rebellion. Last on our list, but arguably one of the most beautiful scenes, is Luke's death and adjoinment to the Force in The Last Jedi. While Luke stares off into the sunset of Ahch 2, he sees two suns setting in the distance. This scene was beautifully done as it completely reflects Luke's departure of Tatooine in A New Hope. When we first see Luke in episode 4, he is standing watching the two suns set over Tatooine, and in his last moments in The Last Jedi, we see the two suns setting, bringing his story full circle. As promised, here are some of the cameos you may not have been aware of in the movie. Now, there are plenty more, but we've chosen a select few to show you guys here. Now, most may not know this, but Mark Hamill actually had two roles in the movie. Of course, we see him as the great Jedi Master, Luke Skywalker, but Hamill also played Dobu Skay. For those who aren't aware, Hamill had to use a motion capture suit to play the creature that continuously shoves coins into BB-8, mistaking him for a slot machine. The name Dobu Skay is also an anagram for Bob Duxay, a Lucasfilm editor. In the film, Joseph Gordon-Levitt plays Slow and Low, another one of the guests at Canto Bight. The name Slow and Low is also a reference to a Beastie Boys song, Slow and Low. This is not the first time we've seen a Beastie Boys referenced character. There's also been Elo Este, a nod to the song Hello Nasty, and Il Comunica for the song Ill Communication. In this film, Rogue One director Gareth Edwards plays a resistance fighter in the Battle of Crate. You can briefly see him in the trenches next to his trench sergeant. Now, if you've seen the movie, you probably know him as that salt guy. Now, some other mentions for cameos were Gary Barlow, Tom Hardy, and both Princes William and Harry. All four played stormtroopers, however the scene was eventually cut from the final product. In other parts of the film, we see Carrie Fisher's dog Gary as an alien pup, Mark Hamill's family play resistance fighters under Poe's command, and there are a handful of Game of Thrones actors playing various roles on the First Order command ship, and Justin Theroux as the Master Codebreaker that we saw for all of 2 seconds. Anyway, these are just a few of the cameos in the film, but we will eventually be doing a video in the future surrounding all of the cameos. Now, if you like this video, subscribe and let us know in the comments below what your favorite Easter eggs were, even ones that we didn't touch on this list. So thanks for joining us today, guys, and we'll see you next time in the Lore Lounge.